At this time, it gives me great pleasure to welcome today's esteemed guest speaker. In all honesty, we are highly fortunate to have this young man here to speak to us, and we appreciate his willingness to find time in his hectic schedule to be here today. In the commencement program, you can read all about Jeb Blount, his achievements, the great books he has written, and the Fortune 500 organizations that count themselves fortunate to have his counsel. What can I say about Jeb except he has an unending desire to help companies, teams, and leaders transform into the organizations and people they desire to be. He connects with thousands of businesses, professionals across this great nation and in many other countries each year with leadership development seminars and keynote speeches. I could go on, but it is more important you hear from him today. Please give Jeb a big University of Phoenix Augusta campus welcome as we bring to the stage President and CEO of Sales Gravy, Mr. Jeb Blount.
Okay, I want to do this one more time because we did it back there and these folks didn't get to see it. Who's a Phoenix? I mean, you gotta love that. Give these folks a round of applause. Congratulations, you've done something big. You've done something that most people are unwilling to do. You sacrificed blood, sweat, tears, and your emotion to earn your degree. You know what? While other people were whining about not having enough time, you figured out how to make the time. While other people were complaining about what they might have to give up to go back to school, you figured out the way. While other people were agonizing over how they might find the money, you made sacrifices and you found a way to get it done. While other people were giving in to their fear of failure, you overcame that and you took action. You see, at some point in your life, you figured out that where you were was untenable, that life was too short to do something that you hated. And you used that as motivation to overcome your procrastination, your fear, your uncertainty, and your doubt. And here you are. And I'm in awe of you. What you've done is huge, and I know just how hard it is. And these folks up here, your friends and your family and your support network, you know, I stood in your shoes too. When my wife went back to school to get her master's degree, everything in our world changed. I mean, suddenly we stopped going out on the weekends. We had to be quiet while we were studying, and sometimes we had to do the studying with her. And she's out here somewhere, and I know I'm getting in trouble for this, but we had to endure the occasional mood swing during these exam weeks and projects. These folks are fortunate that you've had their backs all these years. And graduates, you've kept your focus squarely on your goals, and you made it. And that's really where my message to you begins today. You see, when you've been working so hard, so long at a goal, singularly focused, it feels like you've reached an apex. You've climbed a peak. You're at the top of a mountain, and on that mountain you can stop and you can rest. You can stop and enjoy the view. You can be content. You can allow yourself to believe for the first time in a very long time that it's all downhill from here. So celebrate. Congratulate yourself. Be here in the spotlight. Enjoy the moment. You deserve it. But do not slip into the false comfort of contentment or into the belief that it's all downhill from here. You see, far too many people before you have done just that. They achieved their goal and then they quit. They didn't stop and chart a new course. They didn't stop and set new goals. They quit climbing and they failed to reach their true potential. And because they didn't have any direction, they drifted. And contentment turned a life of promise into a life of mediocrity. This past weekend, I was with a client, and in between a couple of jobs, I was watching TV and I saw this advertisement come on from a financial services firm. Now, the advertisement was about investing in retirement. On the screen, there were these happy 60-somethings. And the announcer came on with this soothing voice, and he said, retirement is for finally getting to do all the things that you love. Now, I'm going to tell you something. If I had a brick, I'd have thrown it at the TV. Because here's the thing, right? This is the myth that we tell ourselves. This is what the establishment tells us that we have to do. Right? We got to work for 45 years at something that we hate so that we can retire and do something that we love. Now, I got news for you. Life is too short to do something that you hate. And if you think about it, right, if you look deep down in your soul, that is exactly why you chose the University of Phoenix in the first place. You see, I'm not willing to live my life in mediocrity. I am not willing to waste my days waiting for some day when I can be happy. One of my favorite PBS documentaries is a story about these people who are in their 90s, some of them in their hundreds. And what's most impressive about this is that these people are not what you would expect. They don't look or act their age. They're vibrant people, full of life, working hard, driven. And this documentary, it follows these people around, and the researchers who are doing this work, trying to figure out what these people have in common. What in the world is it that is allowing these people to live so long and be so happy? And the thing is, they can't find a genetic reason, they can't find an ethnic reason, they can't find a family reason, they can't find a circumstances reason. The only thing that these people have in common is that not a single one of them is retired. They're all working hard, doing something they love. And you see, my takeaway from that is really simple. The secret to a long, fulfilled life is finding something to work at that you love and working hard. Now, I'm an entrepreneur, and I travel all over the world, and let me tell you something, I dig people who work hard. You see, all the people that are working hard are leaving all those folks who are working smart in the dust. If you really want to get the most impact and the most value from your University of Phoenix degree, work harder. You see, hard work has and always will be rewarded. Hard work is the cornerstone of excellence. Look, there's always going to be somebody out there that's smarter than you. There's always going to be somebody out there that's got more resources, got more talent, maybe got more luck. There's always going to be somebody that's bigger, faster, and stronger, but you must never, ever, ever let anybody outwork you. As an entrepreneur, this is my mantra, this is my motto. My competitors will never out-hustle me ever, and I challenge you to take that on as your mantra. Don't get lulled into this false belief that you can work smarter. You see, working smarter, that's what mediocre people use as an excuse for their lack of achievement, their lack of drive. It's what they use as an excuse for their laziness, their lack of ambition. And you've got to eliminate mediocrity in your life wherever you find it. You see, this is a new beginning for you. This is big. This is a transformative moment. This, right? This is the place where everything changes. And contentment is the mother of mediocrity. This past spring during Masters Week, we planted a garden in our backyard. We tilled up the soil and we planted all the vegetables. And I swear to you, as soon as we put the vegetables in, weeds started coming up in the garden. So for the last month or so, we've had to get into the garden on our hands and knees and pick all those weeds out. And it's dirty, nasty, sweaty work. And let me tell you something, this is a secret just between me and you, but there's about 1,000 things I'd rather do than pull weeds. But here's the deal. You want a successful garden? You got to pull weeds. And weeds are like mediocrity. You see, mediocrity slowly and insidiously chokes out excellence. You see, mediocrity will tear you down. Mediocrity saps your spirit. Mediocrity whines about how things aren't fair. Mediocrity feels entitled. Mediocrity tells you that what you want is too hard, that where you want to go is too far, that you can't reach your goals, it's impossible, or that you're crazy. Mediocrity soaks itself in pessimism. I lecture down at the University of Central Florida. The business school there uses some of my books and material. And the last time I was down there, I caught wind of this study that these social behaviorists were doing around optimism and pessimism. And what they wanted to do were find out what these core traits, these core human behavior traits are of pessimists and what the core human traits are of optimists. And so they went all over the country surveying and finding people and interviewing people, and finally they decided to bring some subjects back to the campus at University of Central Florida and bring them in and observe them in some situations. And they settled on the most optimistic person they could find and the most pessimistic person they could find, 2 5-year-old boys. They had these rooms that had these one-way mirrors, right? So they had a room, so the researchers could look in, and in one of the rooms, they went out to a store, and they went and got every kind of toy that a 5-year-old would want. I mean, video games, action figures, everything you might think. In the other room, they sent a truck down to a local stable, and they filled it up with horse manure, and they filled that room up with horse manure. They put the boys in the room, and then they went over there to make their observations. The first room, the researchers all lined up in front of it, all hushed. They had their clipboards out there, all academic and everything, no offense. And they were taking notes, and they observed that the first 5-year-old boy was sitting down in the middle of all the toys, and just as soon as he quit playing with a few of them, said, I'm bored. And they don't even have the right toys in here, and these video games stink. I don't like them. There's nobody here to play with. And all the action figures, they're not the action figures that I like. I like these other superheroes. I just want to go home. I want my mama. And when they got tired of watching this entitled little brat whine, they went over to the other room. And what they saw shocked them. They literally had to step back for a moment and catch their breath, because when they peered into the window, what they saw was manure flying everywhere. And this child was right there in the middle of this big old pile of manure. I mean, moving manure as fast as they could. Manure was flying in the air. It looked like a crazy man in there digging in this manure. They didn't know what was going on, so one of them snuck around on the side of it and knocked on the door and stuck his head in and said, "Son." The kid was just moving. He said, "Son." And the kid stopped, and he turned around, and he was working so hard, he was covered in sweat, so manure was all over him. He looked like a wild man. They said, "Son, what in the world are you doing?" And the little boy turned around and said, "Sir, I said, I'd love to talk to you, but I don't have time right now. Look at all this manure. There's got to be a pony in here somewhere." I love that story. See, that story reminds me that optimism, right? Optimism is a core trait of winners. You see, look, the majority of people out there in the world, they're out there like a bunch of dogs fighting over the same old bone. I mean, nipping at each other, howling at each other, growling at each other, trying to get their little piece. Mediocre people, they spend their days protecting what they have. They work in jobs they hate, waiting for someday win. Mediocre people spend so much time worrying about where they are that they never, ever focus on where they want to be. So my advice to you is simple. I want you to go out there in the world, and I want you to tell all those mediocre people that they can keep that bone, that you have your sights set on something bigger. I don't want you to get too comfortable where you are. Don't rest too long on this mountaintop. Because here's the thing. You've got big things to do. You got to keep on climbing. And the thing about climbing is when you start climbing, you gain this amazing clarity of just what is possible for you in your life. A few years back, I found myself standing on this tower. It was the highest place I'd ever been, higher than way up there. And I was on this little tiny itsy bitsy platform. And I was shivering because I was absolutely in fear. I couldn't even move. And it was cold out. It was November, and I could see my breath, and my toes were kind of hanging over the platform, and I was perched up there holding on with all my heart. And as I looked down, I saw all these little tiny people down on the ground. And I was trying to figure out how in the world I ended up in this place. A few hours earlier, I'd been hanging out with my brothers, and Now, I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and we're a pretty competitive family. You know, we're all adults now, but anytime we play a game, somebody ends up crying. And I mean, seriously, we have full contact Trivial Pursuit. And somewhere in between maybe a couple of adult beverages, my brothers goaded me, the great motivational speaker, into climbing up to the top of this tower and tying some rubber bands to my ankles and jumping off of it. And because I was the oldest, of course, my ego got in the way, and I volunteered to go first. So there I am, sitting on this tower. My heart is racing. I mean, it's just ba-boom, 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 and I can't move. And I don't know if you've ever been scared like that, scared where you just don't think that anything that is going to work out in your life, that your mind reels, you don't know what to do next. Right next to me was the man that had strapped all the rubber bands and the harness on me, and he says, "Sir, you need to go ahead and jump." And I wanted to. I tried to, but nothing on my body would move. Nothing would move, and my heart was ba-boom, 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 and I'm shaking on this platform. Right behind me, my brothers, they started singing, "Chicken, chicken." That big old motivational speaker won't jump. He's a chicken, chicken. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, how can this get any worse? Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. I try to will myself to jump off that tower, and I cannot move. I've never been so afraid in my life. And right about then, this little man down there on the ground, you ever seen one of those big old spotlights? He takes a spotlight and goes, whoo. And there's this spotlight right on me. And my brothers are behind me. Chicken, chicken, chicken. My heart's ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And the guy next to me is like, dude, you need to jump off this tower. But I can't move. I just can't move. Nothing is working on me. I mean, nothing is working. And right about that time, these people on the ground sort of gathered up. I'm right there in the spotlight, and they start going, jump, 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 jump. And right behind me, chicken, chicken. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Ba-boom, ba-boom. So I start trying to rationalize it. I'm standing here. What is wrong with me? Why can't I do this? I mean, look at this. I stand in front of you talking. I was a little afraid before I got up here. I mean, I stand in big audiences and I talk. It is scary. And I lived through Hurricane Charlie down in South Florida. It ripped the roof of our house off. We thought we were going to die. We made it. I've even made cold calls because I'm a sales guy, and I call people up and ask them to do business with me. Most people are afraid of that. I've done a lot of stuff that's really scary. Why won't I jump? Why won't I jump? And it finally dawns on me. The answer is because I've never done it before. So in that moment, I gathered everything up. I got my courage together. I held my arms out. I closed my eyes, and I dived off into the abyss. And it was awesome. I mean, it was amazing. I'm flying through the air. Right there at the bottom, the rubber bands caught me. I bounced back up again. I got down the bottom, and they unstrapped me, and I'm standing there looking up at the top of the tower my brothers are, and I'm like, who's the man now? Who's the man? Right over beside me, there was a little booth where you paid your money to get up and climb up that tower. And the man in the booth said, "Hey, dude, you want to do it again?" And I'm like, shh, who's the man? I tell you that story because, you know, it reminds me kind of where you are right now. You see, standing on that tower in that cold November, oh man, it was cold. Standing there, I had 3 basic choices. I could have gone backwards. I could have gone backwards. Now, I'd have spent the rest of my life with my brothers ribbing me at Christmas dinners and at holidays and at family events, and that just wasn't an option for me. I could have just stood there, stayed right where I was. Status quo was just fine. You know, eventually they would have just turned the lights off. Everybody would have gone home, and I would have been sitting there in the cold. You know, you've got the same choice. Life is too short to do something you hate. So be bold, because you know what? There's incredible energy and boldness. Think big. Like, it takes just as much energy to think small as it does to think big. Lean into fear. Embrace risk. Focus on what you want and what makes you happy, no matter even if people tell you that is crazy. And you know what? Sometimes you gotta close your eyes, you gotta put your arms out, and you gotta jump. And the one thing that I will stand here right now and I will guarantee you is if you do, it's gonna be one heck of a ride. Thank you, congratulations.